All right, so I'm going to kick us off. So, for today's collaborative call, first of all, welcome. If this is your first time, we do this call every single Tuesday. And sometimes it is me, Lars, John, Janie presenting, or sometimes we have a special guest like today. So, today our guest is Wally Bressler, and Wally has written two books now. When does your next one come out?
I don't know. I'm working on. I decided I'm going to partner with Kyle Draper on that. So,
Awesome.
but probably not for another couple of months. But yeah, thank you. So,
Okay, so next book coming out soon. Wally is the master when it comes to phone skills and feeling comfortable on the phone and kind of working through whatever holds you back. And so Wally's been my personal coach before. He's been Lars's personal coach before. And I mean, just was tremendous in both of our real estate careers. So please do take notes. Get ready to ask Wally any questions because we have an absolute master when it comes to just making people feel comfortable on the phone, also making it fun, and really putting this type of pillar to work in your business, especially in this kind of market. So, Wally, take it away.
thank you very much. Thank you. Stacy is awesome, as you know. Good to see everybody. Got my man George Hortas here. Good to see you, handsome. How's your morning wrapping people up in the pretzels? You still doing that?
Still doing that. Took a little break to kind of get my
Yeah.
head above water for business, but
Yeah.
going back
George
probably
is
next week.
George is a mild-mannered guy, but he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu and he can basically tie you up in a pretzel on command. So it's pretty nice. Good to see everybody here. Yeah. So my name's Wally Bressler, and it's good to see everybody here today. You know, people have trouble in this kind of a market. And when I say this kind of, we're going to call it flat to declining. Okay. If you go look at a lot of market data around the country, you'll see that it says, "Oh, we're still in a seller's market." And what dictates that it's a seller's market at this point is the fact that home prices have not gone down. Inventory is up in just about every market around the country, right? Home prices are settling, and for the most part, every market in the country has at least 50% or more of the homes selling for less than ask price. Okay, so having difficult conversations is important in this kind of market, and people don't really need to know what they really need to hear, what they need to hear, and not what they want to hear. Is that fair? Okay, and so I think part of the way that makes it easier for you to have tough conversations with people, number one, is who you're meeting with. Okay, I have conversations on the regular um, with people, and they're saying, "Oh, people don't want to price their home properly. They don't want to do this, they want to do that, they're holding firm." So I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who is a buyer or seller that does not want to do what you ask them to do this market is not motivated. It's what it comes down to. All right. It's 1000% when it comes down to if they're not willing to price their home properly, if they're not willing to um, do price reductions, negotiate, fix things in the house before they sell it. If buyers don't want to get pre-approved, they don't show up for appointments, they don't want to do those sort of things, is because they are not motivated. Okay. And we cannot afford to work with unmotivated sellers and buyers. So what Stacy didn't tell you is that she and Lars, and well, she and her partner, Tyler, and then Lars, they built their business during the Great Recession. They built their business at which at the time was the worst real estate market since since the Great Depression. Okay, and so they built it, and so they know that you had to learn how to have conversations with people because they weren't just telling them, "Hey, you got to price your home property." They're saying, "Hey, you're gonna have to bring $50,000 to closing, $25,000 to closing, right?" You're going to have to, you're going to have to stage your home. And by the way, my listing appointments in my office, right? Because there were so many sellers that just, they wanted to sell, but couldn't do didn't do what they needed to do. And, Lars and his team, Stacy and their team, they would go and spend money on staging, like they do all this stuff and then the home wouldn't sell because the person wouldn't price it. So they had a really hard conversation. So they only worked with and met with and sold the houses for the people who were the most motivated. Is that fair? So what does that look like? If they have to be moving in 90 days or less. Okay. Number two, they have to have equity in their home. On the listing side, they have to be able to get pre-approved in the buy side. And lastly, they must be moving. Very limited criteria as to why you want to work with them. What does that mean? It means a life event, getting a job, leaving a job, marriage, divorce, birth, death, relocation, retirement, starting school, ending school, right? Something like that. Okay, upsize, downsize, not a fan. Okay. And if I'm talking to somebody on the phone and they're like, well, we want to buy a bigger home. Okay, great. What has you buying a bigger home? Well, we need more space. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you have to have more space or you just want more space? Oh, we just want more space. Okay, great. So if we find you the perfect home with the perfect price and the seller wants to close in the next 60 to 90 days, will that work for you? No. Okay. How about 90 to 180 days? Yeah. Okay, what's important to 90 and 180 days? Well, we don't have to sell. So, okay. So may I make a suggestion, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? And then I'm gonna say, let's do this. Why don't I just get you some information on some houses and let's stay in touch with each other, okay? Because they are not going to price their home properly, right? If they're like, hey, I'll move in the next 69 days, absolutely. 90 to 180, probably not. No, what you can say is, hey, listen, what would need to happen to get you from 90 to 180 to now for the next 60 to 90 days? What would need to happen? Well, we would have to get the most amount of money for our home we would ever get. We'd have to get top dollar for a home, right? This is not a get top dollar for your home market, right? So you really have to dig deep and ask more questions. The good news is asking questions does not come across as being pushy if you're asking the right questions, right? Does that make sense? So if I'm asking you timing and motivation questions and I'm trying to get clear on what you want, people are cool. You know what I'm saying? They don't feel pushy. If they're like, well, you know, if you don't, what happens if you don't sell this home, man, and your neighbor's going to come in and they're going to sell their home and get more money like that? That's not a good question to ask, right? So get clear on timing, get clear on motivation, make sure it meets those three criteria. And if it's anything not those three criteria, then you have to ask more questions, right? So parents who want to move their kids to their friend's neighborhood, not a fan. Updated kitchen, not a fan. Bigger backyard, not a fan, right? I want the most amount of money I could ever get for my house, not a fan. Okay. And it's okay to ask them if we found you the perfect home and the perfect price and the seller wanted to close in the next 60 to 90 days, will that work for you? If they say yes, and say, okay, so you're committed to that, right? And if they say no, then you have to be like, okay, well, this may not be the best time for you to sell or the best time for you to buy, and here's why. Okay. Like you have to be able to have those conversations with the people because otherwise you are going to spin your wheels. And I talked to lots of agents that are frustrated because one lady said, I've gone out on 7 listing appointments and nobody wanted to list their home at the price they recommended. And they said they were going to hold firm to their price. And I said, okay, so what's their motivation? Well, they just think it's a good time to sell because they're older. No bueno, right? They want to go move and find a home with extra acreage. No bueno. Okay, you guys with me on this, right? You see what I'm saying? Like it's, you know, you go to Stacy, what's Cohen and Vivian's favorite restaurant?
Minerva's.
Minerva's. Okay, what is it, Greek restaurant?
No.
What
It's just like American food here.
Oh, it's American, so they call Minerva's. It's interesting why they didn't call it like Bucks or something like that. Right? Can I get vichyssoise? Can I get that kind of soup there? Can I get vichyssoise soup at Minerva's?
Nope.
No, no. Can I get chicken chow mein?
No.
No. Okay. Can I get hibachi like teppanyaki there?
No.
Why?
Because they don't serve it.
Because that's
They
not
don't
their
offer it.
that's
Yeah.
not they don't, that's not their model, right? And so thank you. Same thing with McDonald's, Burger King, any large chain, whatever, any restaurant only offers what they offer. Okay. And they don't deviate from that, correct? Like you notice that Chinese foods restaurants used to started making American food available for kids, but that's it, right? So you've got to, for your business has to have the same thing. You've got to have a model for yourself of who you're going to work with and who you're not going to work with, right? Because that makes everything infinitely easier. Is that fair? And it's okay. Like people think they're going to miss something. I don't. People who've been in the business for a long time. Have you ever talked to somebody who wanted to buy a home but wasn't ready and got them to buy a home sooner rather than later? Yeah, it happens, right? But how often does it happen? Not very much, right? It's hard to get people to sell their home and price it properly when they're not ready. It's hard to get somebody to go buy a home and get pre-approved and buy a home when they're not ready. So please use those 3 requirements as your litmus test as to whether or not you're going to work with somebody, okay? And if you don't get the answers you need, then you have to dig deeper and ask follow-up questions. All right. Because they're either all right. So, and it's say either they're not going to list their home at the right price and you're going to let them overprice it, or, and then it's just going to sit there. Okay. And it's going to seem like it's the right price, but you have to plan like, it's kind of like, if you've ever shot a gun or shot an arrow, right? Usually, where do you have to shoot? When you're shooting at a target, you're shooting a gun and shooting an arrow. We usually, do you aim right at the bullseye, or where do you aim usually? Specifically for an arrow, you aim a little higher, right? Why? Because gravity is going to pull it down over time. The wind, you know what I'm saying? So, right, if I know if I've got a target a long time, a long distance away, I've got to be sure that I might have to shoot a little above it because it's going to come down a little bit over time. So, right, we're at a point now where, home prices are settling. If you price it here now, it may not sell at that price because of the way things are going. Fair? All right. So any questions about that? Right. And what it comes down to is asking questions, right? Selling is not telling, right? Selling is asking good questions and leading people to the conclusion that it's the right thing to do based on their timing and motivation. Fair? Okay. Hey, Gina, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. So I am a newer agent, and I was always, when I first kind of jumped on board, the conversation was, okay, a client says, well, this is what I want to list it for. And you can advise them, I recommend this because of these reasons, but it's really up to them on what price they want to try to get. And what I was told is we have the conversation, well, okay, we'll list it for this price, but if we don't have any bites within 2 weeks, then we're going to have to reduce it by, let's just say 3%. And how can I, what's the good, how could I word it where we don't necessarily have to go that route saying, because what they always say is, yeah, but I got to leave room for negotiation because if I list it for 500, and that's what I want for it, there's no room for negotiation. So what do you say to that?
Okay. So, great questions. And, I think you picked a good time to get into the real estate market. And I would say, and Stacey, would you say because of what you went through and all the things that you learned to say over the time you got into the tough market, that there's probably nothing anybody could say to you now that you couldn't handle, right?
Correct.
Right, because you went through fire. So great question, Gina. So the first thing is it is up to them to pick the price, but it's also up to you to determine if you're going to list the house or not. Fair? And you can leave yourself unmuted, right? It's right. I mean, sure, they get to pick the price, but you say, well, I'm going to list it or not. Fair?
That's correct.
Right. So I think that's the important thing is ultimately the decision is yours. Now, number two, again, a lot of it depends upon where that motivation is. The less motivated they are, the less likely they are to, at least in this market for sure, to price their home where they need to price it. Okay. So if to have that conversation and be effective at it, you've got to have their leverage. Okay. And you've got to find out the why they're moving. And so basically, number one, I'm assuming are you going over market data like as part of your presentation? Are you spending a
Yeah,
good 15 to 20 minutes going over what's happening in the market so they can see prices, and not just prices, but they can see the downward trend on pricing. They can see the increase in inventory. They can see that what percentage of homes are not selling for full price. Are you showing them that?
I am.
Good. Okay. So now, so the last thing then is you're like, you give them a range, and in this market, my range would be, the lowest it would sell for, you think it would sell for, based on the range. And then at the highest end of the range, I don't even give them the highest sold price. Does that make sense? I put it a little bit under there because I want to try and negotiate from a number that I think it's going to sell for, right? And so here's the thing. Let's just say that number is 500,000, or let's just say that number is 480. And they're like, well, we want to put it at 500,000 and give ourselves room to negotiate. Okay, fair enough. And so, you're like, okay, great. So here's my thing. If we get no offers at 500,000, how many offers do we get to negotiate?
Hmm.
Right? We don't get any, right? Overpricing your home basically means that we don't get anybody through your home. And so if nobody comes through your home, then we have no offers to negotiate. Is that fair? Yes. Number two, you said to me you wanted to have X happen. I want to be somewhere for Thanksgiving. I want to be right. I got to be near my kids, or I'm retiring and I don't want to shovel snow again, or whatever, I'm saying. Whatever they say, you've got to use that against them as nicely as possible. Is that fair?
Yes.
So if we overprice your home, and we don't get any offers, if it doesn't sell, what does that do for your plans to be with so-and-so or be near so-and-so, right? You want them to say, "Ugh," right? Like I call it stirring the hurt, tighten the screws on them, whatever you have to do. You've got to use their words against them. And that's why having a real motivation is important, right? That's why it's like time bound, right? You're like, hey, you got a third kid coming. The kid's going to be here in 4 months. You said you didn't want to be moving with a brand new baby. You know what I'm saying? You said you wanted to get the nursery up and running. Like, if you don't price your home properly, that's what's going to happen. I mean, you said you didn't want that to happen, right? You desperately, okay, great. So in order to prevent that from happening, we have to price your home where people are going to come into the home. So two things. First of all, you don't ever have to accept any offer, right? So if we get an offer lower than you want, you are not under any obligation to take an offer and accept it. Okay, number one. Number two, and this is what I do. I'm like, you remember, and I do this carefully. And I say, hey, you remember in 2021 where all the houses were selling for more than people were listing them for? And they'll say yes. And you say, okay, great. Well, the reason they did that is because it was hard for us to keep up with the pace of the prices of homes. And so for the most part, they were listed at lower than what they were going to sell for. And when the home is listed at lower than what it sells for, more people are attracted to your home. And what happens is we get more buyers through your home, and then it creates like an auction-like atmosphere. So you have an option. You can overprice your home and have nobody come by, or you can price your home very competitively and get a lot of people through the door, and then have potentially multiple offers that we can negotiate upwards. Does that make sense? And they'll say yes, and say, which scenario would you like? Which would work better for you? Right? Stupid question, but they get it. And they're like, well, what if we only get offers at 480? Well, then we know the price of value of your home is 480. Okay. And and what was the line we started using, Stacy? We're not testing our sales skills here or our marketing ability. We're testing the market, right? I know we can get people through the front door. What we're doing is we're testing the market right now. Right. And then, and then just say to them, say, listen, if we get offers at 480, then your home's worth 480. I think it's worth more. Okay. Not $20,000 more, but I think we can get more than 480 if we price it properly. Are you willing to do that? And then if they say yes, great. If they say no, then I would not give them 2 weeks. I would give them a weekend. I would say, here's the deal. You know that the first weekend is the best weekend you're going to have for the sale of your home, correct? Right?
Right.
That tells me everything, right? The first weekend on the market. You guys would all agree with that, yeah? Is that fair? Okay, where do you live? Where do you live, Gina?
Prescott, Arizona.
Okay. Oh, Prescott. Woohoo! Nice. Right. So obviously there's different times of the year for you, like your market's a little different. Like, July and August are horrible, right? Because it's 490,000 degrees there. But the point is what I would say to them is, hey, listen, on average, last year it took anywhere from 10 to 25 people to come through.
Brad Selberg. Sorry.
Holy cow, old school ring. I like it. So,
No, I'm
right.
old school.
So yeah, me too. So last year, just like, last year, on average, it's 10, as many as 25 homes visits to a home. So it's roughly 10 showings before home sells on average. Okay. So here's what I would say to them is, hey, listen, 2 weeks is a lot of time in a market like this, just because of the way things are settling. So here's what I'm going to recommend is we'll go ahead and we'll put your home on the market at 500,000. I'm going to go ahead and get it on Wednesday. I'll put it on a Wednesday. We're going to market it on Wednesday and Thursday, and we're going to show it like crazy on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm going to do open houses over the weekend. By Monday, if we don't have at least 10 showings or an offer, then we will need to reduce the price of your home to the price where we're going to start getting people through the door and get an offer. Okay. Because 2 weeks is a lot of time, and you now have more competition on the market, as I showed you, right? You've seen downward pressure on homes. And so that would be the best thing to do. And will that work for you? And if they say yes, great. If they say no, then you can do the other thing. But I'm telling you, and probably the best thing to do would be to go find all the listings in your market that sat there before they sold, or that are still sitting there, right? Do you know the total number of days on the market for the different size houses in your market?
It's been anywhere from 45 to 75 days. We have, so actually Prescott is 20 degrees cooler than
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot
okay. So
about
we're
that.
kind of unique.
I forgot
But
about that. Yeah.
we have like the Quad Cities. So we have Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino, and Dewey, and they're all different. Prescott's a little higher priced,
Yes.
and then Prescott Valley right now is kind of moving quite a bit,
You know,
and Chino's lower.
yeah, I forgot.
So
I worked with somebody in your market several years ago.
no, it's a great area. We're so close to everything. So you guys send people our way. We're an hour and a half from like the heat, an hour, a little over an hour if you want to go skiing in Flagstaff. You know, we're just in a great location. So it is really good. But everything, we have a lot of inventory. We have a lot of new construction, and then we have a lot of like middle range homes. And then we
Mhm.
have the older Prescott homes, which people like to live in the Pines, but they're kind of, you have to buy them and then you have to fix them up.
Okay, I'm just checking one thing here. So, yeah, so let me just share this with you. And like the more you can give them. So median days on market is 56 days, right? Right here.
Hmm.
So that's, that's your target right there, right? So what is that? That's 8 weeks, 8 times 7, 56, right? No, yeah. Is that correct? So it's about 8 weeks, 2 months, correct? Give or take?
Yeah, and it does change. Like if Prescott
Yeah.
Valley will be a little different, and
No,
Chino will
I
be,
got you. I got you. Right. But irrespective of what it is, you want to make the numbers look as painful as possible for them to go over them. Fair enough.
right.
So the thing is to say, listen, it's 56 days on market, right? Don't say 45 to 75. Hey, this is 56 days on market median, right? So,
Mhm.
right. And then, if I were talking, hey, listen, you can see home prices are down this much. You can say number of homes sold is down, median days is up, everything's trending towards a f- a market, right? Sales to list price down, homes sold above list price, homes. So anyway, and here's the thing, you can do condos, you can do all kinds of stuff, but you just want the numbers, you want to use the numbers to your advantage to get them to price their home as low as possible. All right. And then the only other thing you could do is just say, listen, if they're not willing to do that, you can see right there that home prices are down 12.6%. I wouldn't take I wouldn't take a home that's 5% overpriced at this point, but that's your choice. And I would just put it as aggressive a price reduction scheduling as possible. Okay.
Okay.
Does
Sounds
that
good.
help? Everything we talked
Yeah,
about?
yeah, really good stuff. I was stuck on the room for negotiation because everyone thought that,
Yeah,
and so
just turn it around. Turn it
yeah,
around on them. Okay. So listen, I see that. So every home that I've showed you, you've seen every home here, every home that I've showed you, you see if we price your home, overprice it, and nobody comes through, how many offers do we have to negotiate? None, right? But and then use a 21 as an example, if we price it aggressively, even a little under where it is, and we get more people through the home and you have multiple offers coming in, then we have a better chance of getting you the price you're looking for. So would you like no offers coming through the home, or would you like to have a number of offers to work with to negotiate? Well, we'd like a number of offers. Okay, great. In order to do that, we get a price your home here. Fair?
okay. So I'm going to play devil's advocate. Well, Gina, what if we just get the one offer and it's for under price? Then we already priced it at 475, and I really want it 480. So,
I,
um,
that's a
you know,
great
what?
That's a great question. What that means is your home is worth $475,000, right? Remember we talked earlier about price being a function of supply and demand. I'm
Mhm.
going to do more than anybody in the market to get the largest number of buyers through your home. However, again, we don't know what the market's going to bear. My goal here is to pressure them aggressively so it gets sold sooner. But if we get one offer of 475, we know your home is worth about 475 because the majority of the time, the first offer we get in your home is the best offer. Okay.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, and
but,
no one else came by, so it was priced. Yeah, okay. Now
but
I'm seeing the picture.
right?
Yep.
But I don't have a crystal ball and I don't believe that's going to happen. But if you overprice your home, it could end up that because then your home sits on the market and then we've got to reduce it. And by the way, when you overprice your home, you have to reduce the price twice. Why is that?
because it
Once,
was overpriced.
right? Because of the price, we got to reduce it twice. Once, so we can get it to a place where somebody's going to come into the house, start coming to the house, and they're not going to give us full price. So we're going to have to negotiate down again, right?
Right.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. No, no problem. I'm happy to help. Cool. And see, but the thing is did you feel like I was being pushy with you at any time?
No, I felt that you were confident and you knew what you were talking about.
But also you felt like I had your best interest in mind, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You know, and you know, and say to people, hey, listen, assume that I'm the greediest person on the face of the planet. Don't you think I'd want to price your home? Um, you with me on that? Right? I mean, don't you think I'd want to price your home for a stupid amount of money? Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, I also want your home to sell because if it doesn't sell, you don't win and I don't win, and I'm not going to let that happen. Stacey, is there anything you want to add to that we were talking about? I mean, you obviously have a whole set of experiences on the ground. Anything you would add to that?
No, not really. I I just like to hear you go back and forth with that because it's just fun to hear it again.
Mhm.
But I think the most important thing that you did was, you're really listening to what they're saying. You're repeating it back to them. You're not like, choose my price or nothing.
Uh-huh.
They feel like they have options, but they've got all the information. And like you
Mhm.
said, your marketing is proven. All we're doing is testing the price. That's it.
Right. Thank you. And that popped into my head. That was like 2010, 2011, right? That was like way back when. Here's the other thing that I think it's really important. At some point in your presentation, I always started it this way. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you agree that price is a function of supply and demand? Meaning the more people I can get through your home, the better chance I have of getting the price you're looking for. Yes. Okay. So it stands to reason that the agent that can do the best job of getting the largest numbers through your front door is the one who's going to get you the price you're looking for. Sure. So if I can demonstrate to you tonight that I do that better than anybody else in the market, would you be open to listing your home with me? Invariably, they would say yes, or that's why you're here, or whatever, right? So then everything you in your listing presentation is about getting more people to see your home online, getting more people through the front door to get them the price they're looking for. So that way, when you come to the conversation of price at the end, you're like, hey, when we first sat down, you agreed that price was a function of supply and demand, right? And so if we overprice your home, that limits the number of people that are going to come through the front door, which means everything we just talked about goes out the window because we're not going to get enough people through the front door to get you the price they're looking for. And then ultimately we'll have no offers to negotiate. And then that keeps you from going to be with your grandkids at Christmas this year or whatever. Okay. The other thing is remind people that they are likely up since they've owned the home. I mean, most of the people you're talking to have been there in their home for more than 5 years, right? So, a lot of people, they're home, they should be playing with house money at this point. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? So now here's the other thing, is do the right things in the right order. So here's the other way. So basically I'm going to set an appointment. I'm going to qualify it. I know Lars has some great stuff for qualifying: seller counseling interview, buyer qualification script. Make sure you do the seller counseling interview and get the answers to all the questions, right? And their motivation needs to be 810, no less than an 8. They've got to be moving in 90 days. They have to have a life event reason to move. Um, make sure both people are at the kitchen table when you're gonna meet them, or both people are going to come with you to go look at a house, so you can have the conversation once, explain it to both people the right way, get agreements signed, and then once you meet with them, qualify them further, because you only get cursory stuff over the phone, and when you meet with them and talk to them and build rapport, more stuff will come out. All right, and then make sure that they're jumped through the hoops. A buyer needs to get pre-approved. Technically, I would get my buyer's credit pre-approved. Everybody knows the difference, yeah? Nobody, but no, okay, so credit pre-approved, right? So that way, essentially, they're shopping with cash, right? Subject to, the small things like house appraising, job confirmation, credit not changing. So that way, it makes their offer stronger. And then on the seller side of things, make sure you get them to, like, really, I mean, really spend time on the market and show them as much bad news as you possibly can. right? Because if they're motivated, the bad moves usually won't dissuade them from selling. It'll at least get them to understand the price, right? I mean, right now, just that whole thing, that one thing, home prices are down 12.7% year over year. It's a lot, right? So, and I think it's important that you show them the numbers that are going to get them to be reasonable with the sale price of their home, and then get their agreement that, you know, when it's time to list their home, that pricing it the right way is going to get them what they need. And then don't work with anybody who's not ready who's not ready to do something, because you are going to get frustrated, and then, you know, they're not going to sell their home, and then they're going to get offers, and the offers are going to be close to what you said they were going to be, and they're not going to take them. And then that's when, you know, you have to go and hurt people. We don't want you hurting people. Rear naked choke, something like that, something good like that, you know, come on, come on, what do they call it? A Kamara, whatever the arm there. Something that hurts. Gina, welcome back.
Hi, another question. So I am working with buyers right now, and they keep saying that they are gonna probably pay cash. His wife, her mom died, and so she sold her home for 1.2 million, and so they're talking about having cash. What would I need exactly? Because I've done this before, and it was a copy of I'm trying to remember. I think they sent in a copy of a 401k or something. What should I get from them to show that?
I mean, I would probably like have them put on the kitchen table and take a picture of it. No, I'm kidding. Um, I'm just joking. Yeah, tell them not to show up at closing with a bag of cash. That would be bad. Usually the 401k is great, but it's better to have a letter from the institution that's holding their money with somebody who's an officer within that organization confirming that they
A
have.
letter from like a bank saying that they have
Yeah,
that
yeah,
amount.
but not from a teller, like somebody who's got AVP, VP, branch manager, somebody like, you know, who will sign their name to it, you know what I'm saying? And just say, hey, listen, as of this date, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith have the ability or have enough cash to buy a home at around, it's same thing with a pre-approval, right? But they have sufficient cash to buy a home up to X dollars or up to Y dollars, or they have, you know what I'm saying? Whatever
Yeah,
it is.
we're not asking to see their entire bank account,
Yeah,
just
yeah, no,
enough
no, no,
that's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
cover the
No,
costs.
no,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah.
all
I
right.
mean, if they want to surrender a bank statement, they can do that too, but that's still, it's not a letter from the bank on bank letterhead with a live signature, not emailed, like an actual live signature, live ink. You know what I'm saying? She's saying that they have the financial wherewithal to buy a home up to, I would put it less than they actually have, of course, right? But that they can afford a home, and have them write it just for the amount of the house, that you're making an offer on, right?
Okay, and
Okay,
then we send that in with the offer, so it's kind of like a pre-qual,
correct,
or
Amanda.
it is, okay,
And any good listing agent's going to call the bank and confirm anyway, right? Any good listing agent's going to call the lender or the LO or whoever that gave the pre-approval and confirm that anyway. So, yep, that's what I would do.
and I've never done that before. Will the bank give you that
Hey,
information if
Gina,
they?
that's kind of like a little bit specific to your market and your stuff, but I just want Wally to kind of keep going with some of the conversations that we have, if it's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, but I can wrap this up real quickly. Just they should have no problem doing that. But to Stacy's point, if they don't want to get a letter from a bank saying that, then that should be a red flag, right? That's just like getting pre-approved, right? So yeah, just go to your bank, whoever they bank with, they should be able to get a letter, and that should do it. Okay.
okay, thanks.
Yep. Word to your mom. Cool. All right. Any other questions before we move on here? So here's the thing. Um, like I don't have the ability. Do I have the ability to share a document here? I do. Lucky me. Yeah, yeah. Dee, 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 dee. Dee, 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 dee. What is that? Give me 1 second. I'm looking for a document I want to share with you, which will help you have conversations with people and make it go smoothly for you. Okay. So basically, I created this objection handling formula, and I just uploaded it here. It's easy for you to just be able to take people through a process, and and make sure you don't miss anything. And it also comes across very, very confidently that you know what you're doing. And in addition to that, that you're listening to them. Okay. Number one, an objection that you get isn't necessarily a specific objection topic. Does that make sense? People who want to wait, it's not a timing objection, it's a money objection, right? Might be a pre-approval objection. People have to talk to somebody. Maybe it could be just trying to get you off their scent. But the whole point is it's important that you get to the actual problem you're solving. Okay, so I provided this to you. So it's pretty simple. And the objections over the phone, this is really for over the phone. If you do something face to face, you can do all this. The only thing you would also do is isolate the objection just to make sure it was the only one before you close. But so the first thing is to repeat it back to them. So right now, what are the objections? Let's just pick an objection. It can be anyone. Not everybody at once, please, and not Stacy. Ready, go. Anybody, an objection? There's no wrong answer here. Am I gonna have to volunteer somebody? Debbie, give me an objection, sister.
Well, we're kind of still in a seller's market here. So, the objection is going to be, it doesn't really matter what the price is. We're going to get more than that.
Okay, and so we know that's not true, correct? So what they're saying is I want to sell my house for more money, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and I would say, okay, great. So you want to get the most amount of money for your home. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So based on what I've, and so over the phone, then we'll do face to face, but over the phone, I'm like, okay, great. When can I come by and take a look at your home and see what we need to do to get you that amount of money, right? Because I'm not talking price. So I don't discuss price. I don't discuss contracts or lengths. I don't discuss commissions. I don't talk about any of that over the phone. Hey, I've got a double wide trailer. I want to sell it for $1 million and I want to pay 1% commission. Awesome. When can I come by to see how we can make that happen? Right? It's near the city dump and power lines. Excellent. Right? I don't care. Over the phone, what do the other guy said he would do it to 3%. We do it for 3%. I'm open to it. Right? Now, I'm being extreme, but the point, anything over the phone, anything's possible, right? But if I'm sitting across the table from you and you're like, hey, we still think it's worth more. Hey, I got it. Great. I want you to get the most amount of money, the most money as possible. Let me ask you, based on what I've shown you here today, what makes you think that you're able to get that much more for your home than what I've shown you here? Debbie, how did you arrive at the fact that you can get, like, first I would say, what do you think your home is worth? So what do you think your home's worth, Debbie?
600,000.
Okay, so I showed you comps at like 550. All right, so okay, so I've shown you all these comparables here. And and I talked about all the things we're gonna get the largest number of people through them. So how did you arrive at your home being worth $600,000?
Well, my neighbor sold it for that last
Mhm.
month.
Right? Okay, so in that situation, I would say, okay, great. Let's do this. I have and then you go online and you look at the pictures and you show them, right? And then you show them the time frame and right? Because what I've found is that real estate agents and real estate consumers, they make a lot of their decisions based on hearsay and not reality. So I'm going to bring up their neighbor's listing and we're going to find out their neighbor's listing didn't sell for 600,000. It sold for 550, right? Usually that's what happens. The house down the street never sold for what they thought it was for, right? Number one. Number two, and say, okay, well, Debbie, yes, it did sell for 600,000, but here's the thing. It's 800 square feet larger than yours. So they've got an extra bedroom. They've got an extra half bath. And you can see here that they've got upgraded. They've got marble, not marble, they got granite countertops, you have laminate, they've got tile floors, you have linoleum, right? And it's not that you don't have a beautiful house here, it's just that this house is larger and it offers more upgrades than yours does. So it makes sense it would sell for that. Okay. So, and I'll ask you, and this is a great question to ask them, if you're sitting in front of two houses and one house is worth more and it offers more, are you willing to pay more? Usually the answer is yes, right? So, and then I would say, okay, so based on what I've shown you here, can you see how your home is awesome as it is and is worth 550,000, but is not going to be able to sell for 600,000, right? In situations like this, show me is always better than tell me, right? Show me, show me, show me, show me, show me everything. There's a great online listing program, pricing program out there called House Canary. very inexpensive, and it will allow you to look at any listing that's been on the MLS in any recent period of time and actually bring that house up and look at all the specifics of the house, square footage and everything else, look at pictures, and you can look at it in real time and show them the differences in the house, okay? And it'll also help you compare homes. It's called House Canary.
What's it called again?
House Canary. Right? It's awesome stuff. Okay, you'll have to do a demo. They don't show much online. But the whole point is it allows, first of all, it picks the comps for you, which is amazing based on like 16 criteria. So it helps you pick the right house. It helps you price it. And it also allows you to make adjustments on the fly. So you're ready to pull out your laptop. You're like, oh, I'm going to change this and this. I don't add one property or move one property. And then it really makes comparables. And then it actually lets you make adjustments like an appraiser would. Okay. So, but when somebody says they want to sell their home for more, you have to get them to prove to you and show you why it's worth more. And then you need to show them why it's not worth more. Okay. And so, where are you located, by the way?
Me, I'm in Philadelphia,
Like Philadelphia proper, Bucks County, like
Bucks County. I'm in Bucks County.
where all the poor people live. Nice. Good for you. At Stacy, you remember Warren Cleveland?
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah, he was in Bucks County before. Cool. All right. Do you actually go on PC or tablet and look at the pics again? I do, yeah. Yep, 100%. Show them in real time, right? If it's on the internet, it's got to be true. No. So again, and again, notice that I'm mostly asking questions, right? I'm literally like, I'm not telling people a lot of stuff. I'm mostly asking people questions. And there's a reason for that. Number one, there's I guess we'll call it psychological, biological phenomenon called the question answer benefit. Meaning if I'm asking you questions to get yeses, you're going to give me a yes. And if I'm asking you questions to get a no, you're going to give me a no. Okay. And so if I want you to say yes, I can even ask you no questions to still get a yes, right? Like, would it be crazy to me to think that if we could sell your home for $550,000 in the next 15 days, that you'd likely take that offer? Well, no, probably, yeah, right? Things like that. So the second thing is when you ask somebody when you tell somebody something, they don't have to do anything to process it mentally, right? Hey, that's green. Yep, that's green, right? But if I ask you a question and you have to think about it and all the chemicals run through your brain and the electrical inputs and the messages run across the myelin in your brain, you actually go through a physiological process to come up with the answer, right? Which means that you feel it. You ever heard of say, "Oh my God, that hit me like a ton of bricks," or "Oh, I get it. It finally hit me. I finally get it," right? Asking them questions allows them to process it and to come to a better conclusion because they have to think about it and process it versus just you telling them. So that's why it's so important to ask so many questions. So and I'm going a little fast today. I wouldn't make it like Spanish Inquisition style like I am now. I would be a lot slower, but that's the whole point, is to ask them questions to lead them to their own conclusion rather than telling them, right? Great, let's take a look at your neighbor's house. They've got this, they've got this, they've got this, they've got this. Not saying your house is a bad house, but right, if I'm looking at two houses and somebody's asking me to pay $600,000, which house do you think they're more likely to buy? With 800 square feet more, one more bedroom, one more half bath, granite countertops, tile floors. Which one do you think they're going to be willing to pay more for? Right? Okay, does that help? And I mean, Bucks County, I mean, yeah, and the thing is I'm willing to bet that you're a seller's market mostly because home prices are still fairly buoyant, but I would be shocked if inventory isn't up where you are, you know, and it's not impossible, but I would be shocked that you're not seeing more inventory hit the market, because historically when changes happen in the US, they happen on the coasts and then they work inward, right? So, and that's the important thing too, is that you need to go and look, and like, you can let the numbers tell any story you want, so, and just help people understand that, right? I mean, that last thing we looked at, only 9% of the houses were selling over asking price in Prescott, right? Only 9, which means 91% of them are selling at or below, and I'm willing to bet at least half of them were below. Other thing last year, Debbie, 44% of homes in the United States sold below asking price. They sold below full price. And if it was on the market for more than 30 days, it definitely didn't sell for full price. Okay. Questions? Was that helpful, Debbie?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's you just can't be, if we're not saying you're afraid, but I think we're hesitant because we think we're going to lose the opportunity. Right. And it's like anything else. If you have conversations, if you're a professional, if you establish credibility and authority by doing a good listing presentation and going over market data and showing that you understand the market data at a higher level than anybody else, like they'll sit there with you. You know what I'm saying? And usually, and if they like you, right? Know, like, and trust. They got to like you before they can trust. If they like you and you can gain that trust, that conversation is a little bit easier. And then to the point where we were talking with Gina earlier, I'm I'm doing as short of a time frame to do a price reduction if I have to, right? And then, and sometimes rather than doing a huge price reduction, I usually just say, hey, listen, what's your monthly payment on your house? Everything going is $2,500. So if it doesn't sell in a week, we're just going to reduce it by a house payment, right? Because every month you sit here is another house payment, right? So let's try and get ahead of that. All right. Anybody have any questions about what we covered here? At the end of the day, it's that objection handling process is great. You can take people through the process. You can handle any objection. And if you go in with the thought process, the mindset of asking questions to get them to see things the way they need to see them, and then going from there, you're gonna have much better conversations, and you're gonna get way better results than trying to tell somebody something. And last thing is show me is always better than tell me. Bring more information than you think you need. Bring more listings than you, right? Just bring it so that way you can show them and let them make the decision for themselves.
That was awesome. Wally,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Mhm.
Oh, can you repeat the
Oh,
was it
it's House Canary.
house canary?
Yeah. So
Okay, she got it
come on,
now.
Debbie. I'm from the Northeast. You should be understanding what I'm talking about here. For God's sakes, you listen faster than anybody else here.
I got my husband's stuff in expired letters next to me, so
My
it's too
God.
loud.
Even Stacy Peterson from Sioux Falls understands, for God's sake.
Right.
And yeah, anytime. Hey, let me give you guys my phone number. Um, I don't do this for everybody, but Lars and Stacy are family. So
Mhm.
you guys, if you have questions about what we talked about today, you have a specific scenario or anything like that, go ahead and shoot me a text and ask me any questions you want, okay?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Wally, are you still doing the call reluctance classes?
Yeah, I got a class starting next week, actually. So
Okay, perfect. Can you tell them about it quick? So if you guys, let me just quick tell you a little personal testimonial. So I took the class from Wally and it was amazing. Like sometimes you think maybe I just don't like calling and you don't understand why you don't and how to work through that. And the group is supportive and Wally gives you tools. So I would definitely recommend it 100%. So Wally, tell us how we would do that with you. And you have one starting soon, which is awesome.
yeah, I mean, the long and short of it is, and there's a little brochure with kind of an overview of what I do. The long and short of it is if you're unable to pick up the phone, if you're a procrastinator, perfectionist, if there's anything that's keeping you from having conversations and doing the things you need to do, and this includes going to the gym, sticking to a diet, um, following your calendar, meeting your goals, there's something going on inside of you that happened at a very young age that's preventing you from doing what you want to do to get the results you want. And it feels like I hate when people call me. It feels like I hate when people cold call me. It feels like I hate making phone calls. It feels like, I want to send texts instead of email and emails instead of phone calls. It feels like, hey, I'm doing this because this is the way I think I should do it. But, at some point you need to get everybody on the phone and talk to them. Okay. And so basically there's just something going on in your head that was triggered when you were a little kid to teach you to avoid things that would potentially feel painful. So what's that? Rejection, not being liked, not being approved of, being told no, things like that. And it doesn't feel like that up front because you're not thinking about it that way. But 60% of all salespeople have a very strong need to be liked. And when you have a need to be liked, you're going to avoid anything that would cause you to not be liked, right? Is that fair? Like some of the questions I'm usually I'm guaranteeing that there's a couple you hear today wanted to throw up in your mouth because of some of the questions that I asked you to ask people or to say to people, right? Because they're, oh my God, I wouldn't want to offend them, you know what I'm saying? And so, and it really just comes down to you not wanting to put yourself in a position where you may not be liked or not be approved of, which by the way has nothing to do with you. Like people are gonna like you or not like you based on their thought of you and not, right? So, but there is a simple solution. It's simple, it takes work, but that where you can actually go ahead and rewire your brain and take those problems and deal with them and make them come up and go out so they go away for good and never bother you again. And then, you know, then you can get on the phone, you can handle objections, and it will change your life. If you want to just call me and ask me about it, I'm not going to try and sell anything to you, but if you've got call reluctance and want to find out why, it'll take me like 10 minutes, maybe 5, to tell you where it comes from and why it happens. And then and we can go from there. If you want to take the class, great. Oh, by the way, it's an 8-week class and I give like an 80% discount. So 90, huge discount. So just above free. So anyway, thank you, Stacy. Check it out. Let's do it. I'm more than happy to talk to you. And the thing is one last thing, it's not going to change. It won't go away on its own. It'll never go away on its own. It'll only get worse, which sucks. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate you. Love you.
Thanks, guys. Make sure and sign up for Wally's class, and then you can always watch this recording as well. So
Bye, guys.
take
Thank you.
care.
See you later. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.